Hare Krishna. Thank you for letting me speak something. I'd like to get the blessings of all the devotees present, all the senior devotees present. And I pray to the Lord and the Acharyas. I can say something which we can apply, which we can understand, and ultimately preach and live. So there's lots of verses, but I'm not going to read all the Sanskrit. I'd advise you all to, in your own time, maybe read the Sanskrit. But if I read it all out, it won't sound so good. So we started a new chapter yesterday. Ambarish Maharaj offended by Durvasa Muni. And we read yesterday about the father of Ambarish Maharaj, Nabaga. Shri Radha Gokulananda ki. So I'll read the verses out. So text 2. Nabaga inquired, "My dear brothers, what have you given to me as my share of our father's property?" Let's put the volume a little down. Not too much, just a little. His elder brothers answered, "We have kept our father as your share." But when Nabaga went to his father and said, "My dear father, my elder brothers have given you as my share of property," the father replied, "My dear son, do not rely upon their cheating words. I am not your property." Text 3. Nabaga's father said, "All the descendants of Angira are now going to perform a great sacrifice. But although they are very intelligent, on every 6th day they will be bewildered in performing sacrifice and will make mistakes in their daily duties. Thereafter, Nabaga's father continued, "So go to see these great souls and describe 2 Vedic hymns pertaining to Vaiswadev. When the great sages have completed the sacrifice and are going to the heavenly planets, they will give you the remnants of the money they have received from the sacrifice. Therefore go there immediately." Thus Nabaga acted exactly according to the advice of his father and the great sages of the Angira dynasty, and they gave him all their wealth, and then went to the heavenly planets. Thereafter, while Nabaga was accepting the riches, a black-looking person from the north came to him and says, "All the wealth from the sacrificial arena belongs to me." Nabaga then said, "These riches belong to me. The great saintly persons have delivered them to me." When Nabaga said this, the black-looking person replied, "Let us go to your father and ask him to settle our disagreement." In accordance with this, Nabaga inquired from his father. The father of Nabaga said, "Whatever the great sages sacrificed in the arena of the Daksha Yagya, they offered to Lord Shiva as his share. Therefore, everything in the sacrificial arena certainly belongs to Lord Shiva." Thereupon, after offering obeisances to Lord Shiva, Nabaga said, "O worshipable Lord, everything in this arena of sacrifice is yours. This is the assertion of my father. Now with great respect, I bow my head before you, begging your mercy." Lord Shiva said, "Whatever your father has said is the truth, and you also speak in the same truth. Therefore, I, who know the Vedic mantras, shall explain transcendental knowledge to you." Lord Shiva said, "Now you may take all the wealth remaining from the sacrifice, for I give it to you." After saying this, Lord Shiva, who is the most adherent to the religious principles, disappeared from that place. If one hears and chants or remembers this narration in the morning or in the evening with great attention, he certainly becomes learned, experienced in understanding the Vedic hymns, and expert in self-realization. From Nabaga, Maharaj Ambarish took birth. Maharaj Ambarish was an exalted devotee, celebrated for his great merits. Although he was cursed by an infallible Brahmana, the curse could not touch him. King Parikshit inquired, "O great personality, Maharaj Ambarish was certainly most exalted and meritorious in character. I wish to hear about him. How surprising is it that the curse of a Brahmana, which is insurmountable, could not act upon him. So we have the verse for today, 16. Translation. Sukadev Goswami said, Maharaj Ambarish, the most fortunate personality, achieved the rule of the entire world, consisting of 7 islands, and achieved inexhaustible, unlimited opulence and prosperity on earth. Although such a position is rarely obtained, although such a position is rarely obtained, Maharaj Ambarish did not care for it at all. For he knew very well that all such opulence is material, like that which is imagined in a dream. Such opulence will ultimately be destroyed. The king knew that any non-devotee who attains such opulence merges increasingly into material nature's mode of darkness. Swami Srila Prabhupada's purport ki. For a devotee, material opulence is insignificant. Whereas for a non-devotee, material opulence is the cause of increasing bondage. For a devotee knows that anything material is temporary, whereas a non-devotee regards the temporary so-called happiness as everything and forgets the path of self-realization. Thus, for the non-devotee, material opulence is a disqualification for spiritual advancement. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksuranmilitam Yena Tasme Shri Guruve Namaha Namayom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Niveshesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Destarine Manchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We all may be aware who King Ambarish Maharaj is, and he's a Raj Rishi, and normally when Ambarish Maharaj, the topic comes up, we know him for 2 particular things. One is the story of Durvasa Muni, and he tries to curse Ambarish Maharaj. Because Ambarish Maharaj is a devotee of the Lord, he counteracts the curse. And Ambarish Maharaj, we also know, he applied all of his senses, all of his actions in the Lord. He was engaged in meditating upon the lotus feet of Krishna, his hands in cleansing the Lord's temple, his ears in hearing the words spoken by Krishna. He engaged his eyes in seeing the deity of Krishna, Krishna's temples, and Krishna's places like Mathura and Vrindavan. He engaged his sense of touch in touching the bodies of the Lord's devotees. He engaged his sense of smell in smelling the fragrance of tulsi offered to the Lord, and engaged his tongue in tasting the Lord's prasad. He engaged his legs in walking to the holy places and temples of the Lord, his head in bowing down before the Lord, and all his desires in serving the Lord 24 hours a day. Indeed, Maharaj Ambrish never desired anything for his own sense gratification. He engaged all his senses in devotional service in various engagements related to the Lord. This is the way to increase attachment for the Lord and be completely free from all material desires. So this verse will be spoken about more in the coming verses. And it says that King Ambrish Maharaj, he regarded the whole opulence of everything he had. His opulence was inexhaustible. So generally we are very calculative on the amount of opulence that we may have and how much opulence is coming. But his was inexhaustible. And he had so much, yet he regarded it as just a piece of stone. Krishna speaks in Bhagavad Gita that the devotee just regards whether it even be gold, he sees it as stone. Wife, children, kingdom, in yesterday's verse it explains how it was regarded as, he thought of it as temporary and insignificant. We may be spending a lot of our time, short time. We may think that we have a long life. Actually, our life is very short. This Kali Yuga, our lifespan maximum is 100 years. Before that, in Dwapara Yuga is 1,000 years. Before that, in Treta Yuga, 10,000 years. And Satya Yuga, 100,000 years. Our life is very, very short, and time is going very, very quick. And if we spend a lot of it trying to accumulate wealth, it's a big waste. And it can be, you can kick yourself later. If you're going to win the lottery, and you win the lottery, but the deal is that whatever you win, you will have to give it back within 2 days. Everything you win. This is not a real win. Same way, everything you may work so hard for at the cost of your self-realization, and then you're going to lose everything anyway. It takes a little bit of intelligence, and it's not something that devotees should be spending too much time and energy. There is definitely needed some opulence to live, keep the mind, body and soul together. But anything more is just extra effort, will actually deter us from our Krishna consciousness. We may think that what we're trying to achieve is needed and is big. We may think that it would be so wonderful to have so many different opulences. Srila Prabhupada says that the same way we are more powerful than a bug. Actually, the demigods are a lot more powerful than us. And the demigods own so much more than us. Whatever we try to accumulate in this life, it's literally like an ant making a little anthill. It is not worth getting too much caught up in, let alone getting proud about these things. It's all relative. Happiness in this material world depends who you compare with. When I used to compare, for example, in Leicester, I used to compare my wealth with a few of my friends. I won't tell you how much salary I was earning, but compared to a few of my mates, it was a bit more than them. So, I'd be like, I'd go work in a tie and I'd be very proud about it as well. But then when I meet so many devotees in Bhaktivedanta Mana, I hear about the devotees that are working, and I just see the type of earnings they have in London. It's probably like triple than anything I was earning. So then it's all very relative. You may think that you have some certain amount of wealth that is considerable. But you compare it to the neighbors next door, you will see is what is called comparing to the Joneses. And it's very, very relative. There's a story called the 99 Gold Coin Club. And there was this one king, he was very, very happy. He was very unhappy, even though he had lots and lots of wealth. And then he saw one of his servants. His servants was quite, He was always pleased, jumping around and happy and blissful with his family. But he was very, very poor. So he asked him, why are you so happy? And he goes, I have everything I need. I am satisfied. Then he asked his minister, I don't believe him. Is it really happy because he doesn't have much things? The minister says, look, we'll do one trick. And what the minister does, he puts a bag of 99 gold coins outside this poor man's door. And this poor man finds it, sees what it is, and he counts it, and it's 99 gold coins. And after he sees him with the 99 gold coins, after he has these 99 gold coins, in his mind he starts thinking, well, there's one gold coin missing. At least let me work towards get that 100th gold coin. And then he started working so hard trying to get this last gold coin. And then, as he worked harder and harder, his satisfaction was gone. And then the king noticed that actually he's not so happy no more. So this is what we're actually doing in this world, is not being satisfied with the quota what's given, but trying to just go for that extra. Just if I only had a little bit more, if I only had a little. And then what we're doing is chasing the carrot like an ass. And in the material world, the happiness will never be complete. Because the soul, the original constitution of the soul is full of bliss, full of knowledge, and eternal. And as long as one actually has any attachment to something that is temporary, something that which doesn't fit into real knowledge, and something which is not complete, one will keep chasing and chasing and he won't be happy. But fact is fact that if the soul does not make full attempt to take 100% Krishna consciousness, 100% Krishna consciousness, then whatever percent of effort that you didn't take in Krishna consciousness, you will go somewhere else. I'll give an example. We have wonderful prasadam here, 3 times, if not, and maha as well, so maybe 3 + 5, 8 times. We have so much maha, so much prasadam. But fact is fact. If the devotees stop feeding me prasadam, I will not stop eating. I will try to, maybe then I'll speak to some grasta devotees, can I come to your house? And I'll do some kirtan, you provide some prasadam. Yeah. And if they say no to me, I'll even go to the petrol station and pick up a pack of crisps. Because fact is fact that I will eat. And you will find, the need will be there and it will be completed. It may be in the wrong area. So the way the soul is, the soul will look and will try 100% effort to look for happiness. So therefore, if it doesn't get the happiness from Krishna consciousness, whatever percent you've left it, it will then go to get the happiness from material things. Even if you do have everything, you seemingly within the 3 worlds. So 3 worlds in the sense of the middle planetary system, the lower planetary system, and the upper planetary system, there still will not be happiness. Hiranyakashipu literally had everything in the material world. When he came as Ravan, after, he had everything. And he had so many Nagapatnis. Still he was dissatisfied. But no one wants to tell anyone in this world, generally, that they're unhappy. No one wants to say to someone else, oh, I'm unhappy. No one wants to say that they're dissatisfied with what, well, when you buy a car and you invest, for example, 10,000, 20,000 pounds in a car, I guarantee you, back of your mind, you're thinking, maybe I should have not got the BMW, maybe I should have got the Merc. Or if I got the Mercedes, maybe I should have gone for the Land Rover. Or whatever cars. I'm not so much into cars, you can say. I'm into a lot of material things, but not cars. Yeah. But you will not be satisfied because it's not complete. But after you spend £20,000 on a car, you're not going to tell your mate you're not really happy with your car, because you may feel like you look like a fool. So you might not tell anybody about your actual discontent. This is the story Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj Prabhupada gives. The 50 paisa circus. That in this circus there was an advertisement saying best venue, best circus entertainment. Please come, please queue up. Don't be hesitant. Come in. So they line up in a queue. And the first one in the queue, he's very happy. You know, okay, he's made it. He's getting very proud. His name was Jiva. And he says, please come in. And Jiva goes in, very confident that he's gone in. He pays his money. And then what happens is he gets a good beating, good thrashing, gets his head kicked in. And after, they throw him out the other side of the circus. He comes out, oh my God, he wipes the blood from his face, puts on his tie, puts his head up high. And I said, how was it? Yeah, it was quite good, you know. It was all right. Yeah, it was good. He doesn't want to tell that what really went on, because he was making such a big hoo-ha for how much effort he was to make him go in the queue. And then the next person goes in. And one after another keep going in. But no one actually tells anyone, actually, these material things are dry. I'm still not happy. I'm still dissatisfied. I still want more. I still think I've underachieved, like this. So, the happiness in this material world is actually explained as not ananda, but just relief. When a man is being, Prabhupada gives an example, when a man is being tortured, Prabhupada gives the example of the man's head being dunked in the water. And when his head is dunked in the water, he can't breathe, and then when he pulls himself out, this is some relief. Okay, give us the answers. But and then it puts him back down. I'm watching a lot of mafia films back in the day. So this is the case, that the so-called relief we get, the best happiness in this material world, is explained as sex life. That this is actually an itch that is being. If you don't have an itch, if you don't have a rash or something, then there's no itch. And the more you scratch, the more the actual tendency is to then think, I need to scratch it more. So that's the type of relief. But ultimately, the more you scratch, the more you bleed. So even when we do have the opulence, if it's not used in the right way, it is also detrimental for our life. The thing is, even if you work hard towards getting wealth, you say, look, I don't care whether I'm not satisfied properly, but at least I've got my wealth. And I'm happy with what little bit I've got. I'm content. But even that wealth will be taken away, not just by death, but even in this life. In Canto 5, this is my best chapter in the Bhagavatam. It's the material world is the forest of enjoyment. Just to read a few verses, what happens to opulence. A herdsman tries to protect his sheep to the best of his ability, but the tigers and foxes take them away by force. Similarly, although a miserly man wants to guard his money very carefully, his family members take away all his assets forcibly, even though he is very vigilant. Sometimes the living entity is interested in the yellow stool known as gold and runs after it. That gold is the source of material opulence and envy. It can enable one to afford illicit sex, gambling, meat eating, and intoxication. Government men are always like carnivorous demons called rakshasas, man-eaters. Sometimes these government men turn against the conditioned soul and take away all his accumulated wealth. Being bereft of his life's reserved wealth, the conditioned soul loses all enthusiasm. Indeed, it is as though he loses his life. Shri Radha Gokulananda ki. Here's our life. This is our life. Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Dhana Pran. Another verse. Muktas tato yadi banda devadat upachanniti tasmad api Vishnu mitra iti anabhastiti. Stealing or cheating another person out of his money, the conditioned soul somehow or other keeps it in his possession and escapes punishment. Then another man called Devadat cheats him and takes the money away. And similarly, another man named Vishnu Mitra steals the money from Devadat and takes it away. In any case, the money does not stay in one place. It passes from one hand to another. Ultimately, no one can enjoy the money. It remains the property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we see that who is a thief in this world? Srila Prabhupada explains that everybody is a thief. Once there was a thief, actually went into a devotee's house and he took, well, that was another story. He went in his car, devotee's car, stole the car, and then he pressed play on the tape recorder, and it was a Prabhupada giving a class. And Prabhupada says in there that everybody is a thief in this material world because everything belongs to Krishna. And he became a devotee. So got a few more things here. Okay, so even if you have all the wealth and it's not going to be taken away, then you also get pride. That's a problem. Like Nalakavera and Managriva, they had so much pride. They became intoxicated. They were the sons of Kuvera, the treasury. And when you get too much pride, you do silly things. And when Narada Muni came, a sage came, they still were completely oblivious. When you have too much wealth, and you don't know how to use it for the Supreme Lord, you don't even know what to do with it. There's a story of the Nawab's chandelier. The Nawab means the rich one. He had a very nice chandelier. Called chandelier? Chandelier. My English is not so good. He had a chandelier. And what happened is one of the servants was cleaning his chandelier. And then, by accident, one crystal fell. And his crystal fell and went, ding, the servant was really scared. Thought, oh my God, this costs so much, each crystal. The Nawab comes down and goes, what happened? And goes, sorry, the crystal fell. He goes, it sounded really nice. Do it again. Do another one. And sure. And then it went, and then again and again. Then they went through the whole chandelier and broke everything. So this is when you haven't got money, you don't know what to do. There's many cases like this. I heard some guy in France. He wanted someone in America wanted some chicken to eat. So he ordered it from France and got it through helicopter. Like that. So when you haven't got, this is what people do. Now, few points on just the whole point. If you don't use your wealth for Krishna, how pathetic it is Indra even thought he was happy in the material world when he was as a pig. And we don't need to go through all the stuff that a pig does and what pig life is, but sometimes it can also seem pleasurable as well. But actually the material world is designed for temporary and misery. The body we've given to enjoy the material world, the body itself is in question. When we say this prayer, Sarira Vidya Jal, when we say the whole prayer, actually we're first saying this material body is a lump of ignorance. I want everybody to just look at your baby finger and think of all of the ways you can get happiness through your finger. Don't think too hard. But yeah, let's give you like five more seconds. All the way, maybe a massage, maybe whatever more. So, now think of all of the different ways you can give pain to this finger. Yeah. If you actually analyze, you can see that this body is more designed for misery. Once my friend, I won't name him, but my good friend, one devotee, he used to be here in the Bhaktivedanta Mana a long time ago, and he went in the bathroom, and my spiritual master was there as well, Kadambakana Maharaj, His Holiness Kadambakana Maharaj, and then he says to Maharaj, I still have so many material desires, and I just still want to enjoy. And my friend, he's quite skinny. He's English bodied, skinny, he's quite tall. And Maharaj just pointed at him and looked at his body and says, how are you going to enjoy with that? Yeah. So I thought this was very interesting, is generally we talk about how to enjoy the material world, how we can, and see if those products are good enough. But even the very facility that we have to become happy with is also pretty lame. And ultimately, it all turns to, I've got a nice verse here, this is Bhagavad Gita. Visayendriya sam yogad yat tat agre martopam piname visam eva tat sukham rajasam smatam. That happiness which is derived from the contact of senses with their objects and which appears like nectar at first, but poison at the end, is said to be the nature of passion. So before you do any material things, before you just unnecessarily give up any Krishna conscious time, look at the whole contract of what that activity involves. It may give some immediate pleasure, may give some sense gratification, it may give some sense of ownership. But look at the whole contract, how it binds you in this world. And one thing is for sure, that if it's not used for the Supreme Lord, everything will get smashed. And that's literally Prabhupada's words here. I'm going to read this out. Riches come from Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. And the goddess of fortune is the property of Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The goddess of fortune cannot stay anywhere but by the side of Narayan. Therefore, another of her names is Chanchal, restless. She cannot be peaceful unless she is in the company of her husband, Narayan. For example, Lakshmi was carried away by the materialistic Ravana. Ravana kidnapped Sita, the goddess of fortune, belonging to Lord Ram. As a result, Ravana's entire family, opulence and kingdom was smashed. And Sita, the goddess of fortune, was recovered from his clutches and reunited with Lord Ram. Thus, all the property, riches and wealth belong to Krishna. Krishna is the supreme controller, supreme proprietor, and supreme enjoyer. And this has to be understood. But then if you have opulence, do you give up the opulence? Or what King Ambarish Maharaj did was he utilized it all. It says in the introduction to his chapter, because Maharaj Ambarish as the emperor was immensely opulent, he performed devotional service with great opulence. Therefore, despite his wealth, he had no attachment. And like this, he engaged his senses and mind in the service of the Lord. It already belongs to the Lord, like a child giving a biscuit to his father. The father is pleased. The biscuit already is owned by the father. The Lord becomes pleased when it's given to him. And all of the opulence can be used. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj had one bodyguard, Mocha Singh. And this guy was really big. It was like maybe like 3 of us put together, I think. And he could eat 26 chapatis in one eating. and he would be there as a bodyguard for Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. And they said to him, why do you have this bodyguard, this Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj? And Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj says, I don't really need him. It just helps with the prestige and opulence, so the people take him more seriously. If we see the story of Srila Prabhupada, he had so much money. He had so much money, yet he would use it all for the Supreme Lord. There's a story of when Srila Prabhupada was talking to the reporter, and the reporter came to Prabhupada, and the reporter was talking to Prabhupada, and then what happened is one of his disciples came with a suitcase full of cash. And Prabhupada opened it up in front of the reporter. And when he opened all of this cash, he was counting, and the reporter was completely bewildered. Here he was talking about the highest philosophy of renouncing, and there he was counting the cash. And he noticed that the reporter was bewildered. And then within 30 seconds, he gave one word, for this is for the Mayapur project. This is for the BBT. This is for the temple project. And in the end, he showed he had nothing left. Prabhupada explains that actually he had two phases in life. And in these two stages in life, he says, first Krishna tested him by taking away all of his opulence in his life. And the second stage of his life, he tested him by giving him all of the opulence. There is one story in this regard. I'll finish on this story. It's a strange story. I wasn't going to say it, but I'll say it. It's that there was one king. Prabhupada gives this story. Prabhupada was laughing very much after this story. So, that there was this one king, and he had a joker who used to entertain him. And they had a certain relationship. And this joker, he was actually making his own house nearby. So the king wanted to play a trick on him. And then the king said to him that, the king said to this minister, I want you to play a trick on him, go there in his house and pass stool. And I told you it's a strange story. And then, so he went to the house, and then he says to the joker while he was making his house, he said to him that, I need to pass stool right now. So the joker said, the joker realized there and then that this is the trick of the king. And then he said to the joker said to this minister, hey, sure, you can just pass it in this part of the room, and left the door open. And he says, but the thing is, if you pass any urine, I'll kill you. And so then Prabhupada was laughing. This was the story. Okay? So I'll explain the purport of the story if I can. The Prabhupada's laughing very much. When you read it, it's better than the way I deliver it. And Prabhupada's saying that actually, when you pass stool, you have to pass urine. So in the same way, I have had so much wealth, and I am being stopped from living in all of these places. I have so many places to live, but Krishna has arranged that I can't stay in one place. So we see that in this world, we can use everything for Krishna, and when we utilize it for ourselves, this is where it actually all goes wrong. But there's one thing is for sure, is we can also come to this stage of perfection. When Brahmananda was sleeping, Prabhupada said to him, why are you sleeping? And woke him up. He had only had a few hours sleep. And says, wake up. Because Prabhupada, I'm tired. He goes, why are you tired? He goes, well, I need to sleep. Why do you need to sleep? Then Brahmananda says, I'm not a pure devotee. And Prabhupada says, why are you not a pure devotee? And that. So we're in a position where we have full access somehow or other with all of our skeletons maybe in the closet and all of our bad qualities to become pure devotees. When we talk about pure devotees, we are not talking about some person just from the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is just an example for us how to be, and Prabhupada wants us to become pure devotees of the Lord. And in this regard, it can be done. I just like to end on one story on determination, that we can also utilize everything we have, our mind, our body, our words, our time, our wealth, our friendships, our community, everything that we have for Krishna's service. It just takes a bit of determination. 2 frogs fell in a boiling pot of milk, and the milk was getting hotter, and these 2 frogs were there, and they were drowning. And there was a hopeless situation, and one frog drowned. And the one frog was now left. I was thinking, I have to live. But the situation was hopeless. But he carried on, and kept flapping his legs more and more and more and more. And some butter was churned. From a hard butter was formed, and then the frog jumped on the butter and then jumped out. So that was meant to be a funny story. That the actual story is that by our determination, we can also become pure devotees and engage everything in Krishna's service. Srila Prabhupada ki. Maybe one question or comment?